Greetings once again, my friends, and welcome back to another update video, I guess is the best way to look at it. I am Adam Mickelson, aka Drac, the host of this channel, if you're brand spanking new, and I'm here to talk to you about something that I've actually been talking to a lot of the active listeners as well as subscribers of the channel to see whether or not I should be taking this project on, and ultimately I've decided to do so. Some of you might remember that I have asked whether or not you guys would like it if I did a Geek News anime night or a Geek News streaming night solo. Because normally I would have somebody like Andrea or Brenton or Alex or Rising Sun joining me for those. But I've been hesitant about doing solo ones just because I like being able to have that, on the couch banter that we can have. And for me, I would probably go a little bit more analytical. And I'd probably joke about some things that I saw in the episode, but I probably would lean a little bit more on the informative or the analytical side. And so I wasn't entirely sure, and so I brought it to you guys. And a lot of you guys actually were supportive of the idea. And one of the specific reasons that I wanted to do it, and now I'm happy to announce, is people might remember years ago, I made a goal during Let's Play content on Draken Shadow that as a Gundam fan, I hadn't been able to go through all of the Gundam series because as a US fan of the Mobile Suit Gundam franchise, only certain things make it here. But now that as the market is beginning to unfold and we're able to get a lot more access to stuff, I've really wanted to see the entire Gundam series because I love Gundam. And that's been restrictive in the past, but now that things are opening up, I did want to try and resume that. Now, for those who are looking to see what those opinions were, I honestly can't help you on that. I've considered trying to do that, but a lot of those videos are really old. It's been really difficult in those to be able to give my thoughts on a given series because we are actually doing Let's Play content in the meantime, so it hasn't really worked out. So that's why I haven't really just kind of like gathered up my thoughts on it because they're just too spread out. But I do genuinely love the Gundam franchise, I do genuinely love the Gundam franchise ever since I saw my first series, Gundam Wing, which I know a lot of people are already asking, oh, you saw it on Toonami. Actually, no. I was unfortunately one of those schlubs that had to buy VHS tapes. Really expensive VHS tapes. But after watching Gundam Wing, I've enjoyed whatever series that I've been able to get access to, and Gundam is one of those times where I've actually, because people might remember early on, I would do dub only, and Gundam was one of those few franchises that I would actually do subtitles if I could, just because I would get access to the brand new series and be able to see what they're doing. And that's kind of the purpose of this, is that I actually want to continue doing this. I want to continue doing the Gundam series, so to speak, but now I want to do it in an episodic format, much like we do with Geek News Anime Night, except it's just going to be me giving my thoughts specifically on a lot of shows that I just have never seen, because either they A, never got dubbed, or B, they never got brought over to the States in the first place, and so I'd have to go to either a promotion involving sailing the seven seas, or I might actually just have to import. And it was difficult to be able to do that, but now I'm looking to restart that, and I hope you guys will join me on the journey as I go along. I also know that a few people have been excited about that prospect, especially when me and Andrea tackled the G Gundam podcast, which is just kind of the prototype Geek News Anime Night, or Marathon Night rather. And you guys have asked questions like, when are you going to do Gundam again? Well, Andrea's not necessarily going to be into every single Gundam series, however, I am, and you might even get a genuine experience from me because it might be my first time ever seeing it in the first place. So hopefully this is something that you can join on that journey with me. Now, I will say this, because like I said, I was doing reviews via the Let's Plays, I've already made my way through a few series. I'm not saying that revisiting them isn't on the table. I'm not looking to do that right away, though, and I hope people will understand that, because in some cases I've already kind of given my thoughts on them, and some of them to me weren't very good, so I'm not really looking to revisit that anytime soon. But I think it's also something that we can put forward as a goal at some point to revisit those and do episodic reviews if people like this format as much as I hope that they will. So really quick, I'm just going to go very quickly into my thoughts for the series that I've gone through thus far. Thankfully, it's not too many. So the original Gundam, I have a love-hate relationship with the original Gundam because there are things that I do like that they tried to do. However, a lot of the things that most Gundam fans like of the original Gundam, I'm not really one of them. Amuro Ray and Char Aznable drive me absolutely bonkers, especially their unique relationship with Lala Soon, I think is her name. So overall, I'm not the biggest fan of the original Gundam. I can see why people love it, but it wasn't really my cup of tea. Moving on into Zeta Gundam, I actually enjoyed Zeta a little bit more than I did the original, and I think part of that was because there was a bit of a time skip involved, and so we actually did get to see not just Amuro and Char in later parts of their lives, but we also got to see other crew members of the White Base, maybe even some other cast members from the Zeon side that we saw in the original series, and see where a lot of those were. And that was actually kind of interesting to me. The lead protagonist, Camille Bidon, he's kind of the same love-hate relationship that I had with Amuro Ray, where I do like a little bit more of his development compared to Amuro. It's just unfortunately, Camille falls into the same kind of shortcomings as Amuro, and even adult Amuro falls into those shortcomings. So I'm just not a big lover of the main characters that we're following, but I did enjoy seeing a lot of the former White Base crew members and seeing where their lives were at. It kind of reminded me of another series that I'll tackle eventually, Gundam Seed, and being able to see a lot of those crew members in Seed Destiny. Double Zeta, or Double Zeta Gundam, I again, love-hate relationship. I wasn't a big fan of Judao Ashita, the main character of that. I do think that there were things that Double Zeta did better than the original. I do think there were things that it did better than Zeta, but I actually look at a lot of Double Zeta as kind of a comedic take, and so I didn't enjoy it all that much, but I did like some of the things that it was setting up in the Universal Century timeline for later stuff that I'm hoping gets expanded upon in later series, but I'm not sure if it's going to. Char's counterattack. This is another one where I get the appeal, but I was not on board with everybody because the primary focus of this is the conflict between Amuro and Char, and I don't like the characters. I don't like where they were going. Even the characters that were created specifically for Char's counterattack, I had issues with. So not great thoughts on this, but again, maybe if we expand on it and I get a little bit more time in between that, maybe I'll have a different opinion. Now we can finally get into some of the things that I actually did enjoy, which was 0080 War in the Pocket. So this is a unique story because it's a little OVA that takes place not from the Atlantic Federation or the Earth Federation's perspective. It takes place from Zeon's perspective, as you follow a guerrilla troop that have infiltrated a colony and have actually befriended a little boy who lives in that colony into helping them out. And so they actually inherently bring conflict to this colony, and we actually get an interesting perspective from the kid because he kind of realizes the horrors of war from it, which that's the thing of Gundam and it's got a very strong anti-war message, and this is no different. I liked how they approached it with the kid, especially since he got to see a lot of death because of this, and in some cases it kind of changed his outlook on being that average little boy of playing with little toy soldiers or toy mobile suits in this case. It was actually a really cool way to be able to look at that. 0083 Stardust Memory is probably the one that I have the highest regard for so far in the Universal Century. I actually do like the story between Ana Delgato and Ko Uraki. I actually did like Ko, as well as the crew of basically the White Base in this one. I can't remember what the ship is called off the top of my head, but I did like the relationships that were being built there. But I also liked Anavel Gato as the villain that he was. I know that there's technically a leader there, but I don't remember having a whole lot of good thoughts about her. But Gato, I actually got very attached to as a villain and liked being able to see the conflicts between him and Ko throughout that. So this is the one in the Universal Century so far that I have the highest regard for, because now we go into Victory Gundam, and boy, I hated this series. It was such a slog to get through. A lot of it is just because of some of the weird directions that they went, especially in regards to the little boy pilot that we got in this one. Uso Awen, that was his name. And in fact, the funniest thing is I actually skipped F91 in this, and one of the things that I honestly feel Victory Gundam is that it took the F91 storyline, and F91 was horribly condensed because it was just a movie, whereas they tried to build from it and tried to expand on it, and I don't think it worked out all that well, so much so that a lot of the ending conflicts that were supposed to be stopping at the end of the series didn't really seem like really big threats. I mean, the biggest thing that I remember was the lead female protagonist, or rather antagonist. Ultimately, in order for her to win against Uso, she had to take a specifically picked troop of women and have them parade out in the middle of space, by the way, in blue bikinis, so that she could basically take advantage of the fact that Uso was, a young prepubescent boy who was starting to notice that, boobs are a thing. Victory Gundam I don't have a whole lot of good thoughts on. I would actually rate it lower than a lot of I would rate it lower than Char's Counterattack. I at least enjoyed the mobile suit combat in Char's Counterattack, and Victory Gundam I didn't really have that much enjoyment with. But then finally, you guys already know this because I did technically do a podcast on this, Mobile Fighter G Gundam. I love this show, and that's where I've said it in streams in the past, and I'll say it here. A lot of people have taken to that meaning that I like a lot more of the alternate timelines that Gundam has built as opposed to the Universal Century. I do like some things of the Universal Century. I just haven't had a series come my way that makes me enjoy that setting. But G Gundam, oh, I absolutely enjoy it. It is a hamfest left and right. It is very comedic. It's very funny. But I also do like the concept of it's basically Gundam meets Street Fighter. And so at that point, we have some really cool Gundams representing various nations. And yes, it represents them with stereotypes, but in some of those cases, those Gundams look pretty freaking cool anyway. So I did enjoy G Gundam when I first watched it. Obviously, you guys can check out the G Gundam podcast and see what Andrea thought of it. And I have no problem saying that since we're finding out that we might actually be celebrating G Gundam's, I believe 50th? No, I don't think it's the 50th anniversary. It might be the 30th anniversary. I have actually been in talks with Alex the Shadow Blazer about maybe doing a Geek News anime night for G Gundam, because he has never seen the series. He's only been exposed to, I think, Wing and Seed at this point. And so at that point, we might be able to do that for G Gundam, especially if they do, which what I'm guessing is going to be a continuation movie for G Gundam. We might be able to do that. So maybe you'll get another take on G Gundam, and I wouldn't mind that, because I would love to be able to bring Alex into that. Now, technically, the next one would be Gundam Wing. And as I mentioned, that was the first series that I took on. I've actually decided to skip Gundam Wing because Andrea has shown interest in it, and thus we are considering doing a Geek News marathon night on Gundam Wing. So that'll eventually will happen. So we're going to skip that one for right now. And up next, which is where I'm going to be starting things with the Geek News anime night for Gundam, or maybe I'll just even call it Geek News Gundam Night. I don't know. I will be starting with the 8th MS team, which I technically have not seen a whole lot of. I think I've seen only like a few bits and pieces here and there. So at that point, we will be starting with the 8th MS team. And that's pretty much what I'm trying to do here. I'm bringing you guys up to speed on what I would like to do. Hopefully you guys are on board with it. And I hopefully will see you for when I do episode 1 of the 8th MS team. In the meantime, if you like what you heard, leave a comment down below. You know, you're more than welcome to recommend something. I will just go ahead and say this because I also skipped it in this overview. I'm not a big fan of the SD Gundams, so I'm probably not going to be taking those on unless I'm in like an especially silly mood. But you're more than welcome to recommend them. If you like what you heard, if you guys want to follow along, feel free to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, and that way you get up-to-the-date notifications on when I'm actually starting that, because I'd be more than happy to have you join me for this unique ride that I'm going to be going on, because of this promise, I haven't seen any of the new stuff either. So anything past Build Fighters Try, I haven't seen yet. So you guys will be able to also get my unique take on things like Iron-Blooded Orphans, Reconquista and G, Witch from Mercury, all that stuff, and hopefully everything will be good. But I hope to be able to see you guys for that podcast. Until then, take care, my friends, and I'll talk to you again soon.